Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is a special presentation this Friday evening. Welcome to Absolute Tabletops Aether Nexus. This is the Severed Night Trilogy Part 1. This is the beginning of a three-part series that we're going to be running today, Sunday, and next week Sunday to showcase Absolute Tabletop's recent release of Aether Nexus fantasy mecha role-playing game, and we are super excited to bring this to you. I am also stoked to be joined by a stellar ensemble, a nexus, if you will. That'll make more sense once we get going in the game. I would like you all to welcome Sarah, Jay, Carrie, Violet, and Dwight to the stream. We're going to do a couple of quick announcements up front here, and then we're going to go into a proper opening introduction and get into the gameplay. Something to look forward to during the stream, besides all of the awesome roleplay that you're going to see and the showcase of this new system, is that we're going to be giving away a couple copies of the Aether Nexus RPG, digital copies with codes through DriveThruRPG. So I will give you a heads up, and there will be an on-screen notification as well when that goes live. The raffles will be open for about 10 minutes. And you'll get an opportunity to win your own copy for yourself or to give to a friend. As I mentioned, we are doing this as a special presentation for Absolute Tabletop. This is a sponsored game, but all that means is that we are fully endorsed by Absolute Tabletop. They know what they've gotten themselves into. And we know at least Matt's hanging out in the chat. Others may show up as well during the game or in the VODs later. Quick content warning. Of course, we're all adults playing in a fantasy role-playing game. You may hear some adult language. You may hear graphic depictions of violence. Given the nature of what Aether is, Aether having to do with knowledge and thought, there's a potential that there's some intense psychological aspects to this game as well. We have, as players, we have had a session 0. We understand that everybody has different lines and veils. As such, we employ a safety tool system called the traffic light system that we use to keep everybody safe. And I just say this also as a reminder to the players to employ those safety tools should you feel that you need them. We also, before every game, we like to remind everybody that you matter. Your presence on this earth makes a difference, whether you believe it or not. It is true. There are any number of reasons why you might be struggling. But the one thing that you should not have to struggle with is how to get help. At any time, you can come in the chat, as I've just done, and type !help. And a couple of URLs will show up. Findahelpline.com, or you can check out the growing list of resources available at takethis.org. We encourage you to check out those websites, bookmark them, save them for yourself, save them for a friend, and remember, you matter. I do have, in case anybody is wondering, you can type !Nexus in the chat, and that's going to give you a direct link if you want to buy your own copy of Aether Nexus on DriveThruRPG. That is a currently, I just checked it out, currently an Electrum bestseller, and they are still in the well entrenched in the top 20 slot on site there. So please do check that out. Before we get into the game proper, I introduce them, but I would like to give each of these players just a quick moment to introduce yourself. We normally run long-running campaigns on here, so we don't really do these kind of introductions very often. But I'm going to start over here with Sarah and have you go in clockwise order on the overlay. Basically, go in order of your number in the Nexus. So just tell us who you are, where we can find you, and yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm Sarah, known as Alice X Ann on all of the socials. You can find me occasionally in the Discord, the Mini Terrain Domain Discord. I'm not very talkative, sorry guys. But you can find me here on this channel every other Tuesday. For Sky Metal Iron Gods, you can find me on, once we start streaming again, on Aesir Sin's channel for my hijinks game every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. And I pop around. Sometimes I'm on Erasmus expeditions, sometimes I'm here. It just depends on the day. So I'm really glad to be here. I'm excited to try out this system today.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jay, also known as Neophyte3 on some of the socials. You can find me here on in the Discords or in the chats once in a while. Soon, maybe a little bit more active on something else in the future. We'll see. And but yeah, you can find me at the Emporium for the Wayward Gamer while I run, or at some of the local conventions around the country. I am excited to be here as well. I'm looking forward to this creative dive into a new system. And yeah, there's lots of other things to say, but I will leave that to Harry.
Oh,
or whoever's next.
Actually, it'd be
I'm sorry.
Dwight.
Dwight,
we're going around the horn. I wasn't effing ready, man.
that's why I did it.
Hey, I'm Dwight. I am the big bearded nerd. I am the normally behind the scenes half of Mini Train Domain. And other than that, you really can't find me. But when you're around MTD, I'm usually somewhere nearby. So looking forward to playing more AbTab, one of my, if not my favorite game designer company. So super stoked to play tonight.
Bye.
Hey all, I'm Violet. You can find me here running Sky Metal, where a bunch of adventurers try to fight the perils of a technological ruined world in Sky Metal. I'm really excited to try out and jam this Aether Nexus game that my pals over at Absolute Tabletop have put together. No, it looks super cool. I'm really excited. So. Thank you.
Fun fact, in that campaign, I play a character who absolutely hates robots. So a little bit of irony.
My God.
And finally, you've had enough time to get ready. Carrie.
Yes, I'm ready. I tend to forget facts about myself. I'm Carrie. You can find me here on, well, it's about to be on Monday nights. We got a new campaign coming up called Seven Dooms for Sandpoint, where we're going to be playing a little Pathfinder 2E from level 1, which I'm pretty excited about. I've never done that. You can find me on Thursday nights. I guess, though, not until the new year with our game Kids on Bikes. That is on Thursday nights on Mini Terrain Domain. You can find me on Wednesday nights sometimes over on Emporium for the Wayward Gamer with my buddy Jay up there. We play Pathfinder 2E as well. That's a great time. Also in Sandpoint, which is going to get very confusing. So on select Thursday nights, you can find me on another channel called Dice Tales Live. If anybody happens to be playing Farming Simulator 25, you can hear me there. I'm farming. What am I? Animal Farmer Katie. That's who she is. All right. so yeah, it's gonna be great.
All right. Well, just a couple quick final notes before we get into the gameplay proper. I wanted to call out we're using the apparatus artwork for each of the characters. They each chose a different apparatus. And we've incorporated, of course, the Aether Nexus logo, stuff like that. I just wanted to give credit where credit is due. The incredible artists for Aether Nexus, Ben Fluter and Alexander Kostic. You can see their artwork on many Tab products, but credit where credit is due. And I believe, the last thing I wanted to say is just a note, be gentle. This is our first time playing, and we're going to learn the system together. I've been working hard to understand these rules, and I also feel like I'm forgetting every one of them. So we're not experts. We're playing a new system, and we're learning it together. With that said, are you all ready? Step into the world of Eskhara, Aether Nexus.
Yay.
Woo!
Heck yeah.
Then here we go.
Tenets of the Aetheric Night. A knight serves first their oath, for Eskhara is her people. A knight serves second the Nexus, for many become one. A knight serves third themselves, for Eskhara lives in you. A knight serves always Eskhara, for she preserves all. During the Hive Wars, the Aetheric Knights rose with their mighty apparatus to face the chittering legions of the Ogdra, insidious conquerors born of the Abyss. For countless years, the Hive Wars ravaged Eskhara, fragmenting the realm into ash and ruin. Yet its people clung to hope. In the face of extinction, the Eskarans mounted a desperate final stand. Led by an elite nexus of knights known only as the Six, they drove the Ogdra back into the Abyss. But victory came at a cost. The founder of the Six fell in the final battle, their cauldron body dissipating into the ethereal. The severing of number one was felt throughout the Nexus, an unbearable moment of pain and fear. Then silence. Though hailed as heroes of the Hive Wars, the surviving members of the Six disbanded, retreating into a reluctant retirement and leaving the horrors of war behind. Until now. Whispers stir within the Aether, and an ominous force awakens, pulling them back into the shadows they vowed to leave behind. Destiny isn't done with the Six just yet.
Ooh.
It's been many years since the Hive War, since the Nexus, known under the banner as the Six, disbanded. Each of you finding solace somewhere within the fragmented world of Eskhara. We're going to find out now, by way of character introductions, where each of you are. To determine who goes first, thought it fitting to roll a d6.
Oh.
And we'll use your numbers within the 6. If number 1 comes up, of course I will re-roll. Number 3, Jay.
Amazing. Perfect.
Of course, of course.
What I would like you to do, Jay,
Okay.
is tell us where you are, to set the scene, describe your character, your Radis, and when you're ready, choose who goes next.
You find Niktitu. He is Chimru, basically an insect race, one of the insect races. Appropriately, his Apparatus is an Ettercap, a spider, large spider with several mites or rat mites, or his hive, because he's a hive keeper, adorning his Radis. Currently, Nixitu is in the outer rim area, or like outer portions of the area of the world after the great fall of Prime, as he calls him, not number one, but Prime. They left after some guilt, and they went back home to take care of another hive. They speak in third person, so you'll be hearing me we and they all quite a bit, but is in a farming community, so to speak, attending to living hives instead of his mechanical hive, and just enjoying partially a farm, partially an offset of a farm, making sure attending to different locations, just enjoying the sunset on the horizon, just going there. And we're going to pick appropriately, just because of the order, number 4. I'm gonna go in order.
Camera sets over this barren valley between two mountain ranges. There's a heavy fog throughout the valley, and on one side on the northern slopes is a compound, and it is just full of soldiers. It looks like there's nobody going in and out of the roads. Everything looks to be on lockdown. And on the on the top of the hill inside of this compound is just palatial setup. And if you zoom in to the top floor of this palace, a figure walks out, and a hand reaches out and stops it as it pushes it back as a security team walks out, clears the patio that he's walking out onto, then waves him out. He notices a slight flash on the far across the valley through the fog. And then the security guards hear it, or see it before they hear anything, as an energy bolt strikes this figure in his chest, and he just dissipates into nothingness. You zoom across to the far side, to the mountain range on the far side, and that flash flashes again. You zoom in on that flash, and through this small portal, barely larger than this figure itself, slides a multi-legged apparatus. It's almost like it's curled back on its hind legs with multiple arms, with a long-barreled weapon trained on the far slopes across the valley. Inside of the cockpit of this large apparatus sits a hooded figure in black, with black skin. It's this axolotl figure kind of peering out through glowing violet eyes. Let it blink. It's time for 4 to go. And just looks to, just before the Radis slides out through the gate, you see number 4 kind of turn their head and look up. Number 2. And we'll go. That's my. And then the Radis blinks out of existence, and we'll see what number 2's up to.
Number 2 is not up to nearly as much fun as number 4. What we see is in the Colward houses, we see this old farmhouse that is very slowly being renovated. The sun is starting to set, and the beautiful colors of oranges and pinks and reds brush across this very lush field of various crops that is flourishing. And as we turn, we see this silhouette of someone standing in front of a stone. Zooming in, we see this cloven woman with a very large ember hound next to her. The beast groans and whimpers as they sit in front of what is essentially a grave with just the word Papa on it. The woman doesn't speak. You just see as she turns, and in those beautiful pinks and reds stands this very large omen apparatus that even now seems to groan as if waiting for something. She looks down at this ember hound and seems to sigh. She says, "Time to fight the nightmares again." And the ember hound makes its way to the house that's being rebuilt, and as she looks back at the omen apparatus, she just says, "We'll get him soon, Marana. We will." And that is when Kin moves into the farmhouse to a very, very unrestful sleep. And that is where we will move to number 5.
We are in a lecture hall. It is in one of the most prestigious academies in Eskhara. It is, you can tell by the shuffling and the restlessness of the students here in this auditorium, that the end of the lecture will soon come. Whoever is speaking will finally finish, and they'll move on to the next classes, or maybe go into the lunch break that they have, or maybe it's even the end of the day for certain students. We see who this professor is. She is short, stocky, with this almost like this oiled fur that you would imagine like a walrus, a seal, or even a beaver would have. It's pressed close to her skin. She's got spectacles, and she's busy on her tiptoes using chalk on this chalkboard, writing out these long and convoluted equations, speaking to the class. And as she turns around, wrapping things up, as a certain bell rings, she's make sure you do your proper summations for your harmonic attunement formulas. You don't want to get the wrong amount of Arthurian decay. Oh, that'll mess up big time. And then she like begins to pack up her papers. She's a little bit frazzled. She has someplace to be as the students shuffle out. One of them comes up to her and asks her, "Is it true? Did you fight back in the day?" And she kind of brushes it aside, said, "That's not important. I don't talk about personal effects." And she finishes packing up her briefcase as the rest of the students pile out of the lecture hall. We fast forward a bit, a time skip to late in the evening. She finally steps in to her home. She flicks on, she tugs on a little string to turn on one of the low buzzing lights as the etheric flame kind of unveils this large studio, one-room apartment. You see that she has her entire living space here. It's above the clouds here and in some one of the floating islands of Eskhara. You see her messy desk, her pile of papers, stacks of research notes, a chalkboard that's completely scuffed with who knows how many layers of chalk and erase and chalk and erase she's got. And then there's this big something draped over in the tarp in the far corner. She, drops her briefcase on her desk, unwinds her hair, steps over, pulls the tarp back, revealing this massive frame, this apparatus frame. "I missed you, big guy." And then we'll go to you, Carrie, number 6.
Wonderful. If anybody has ever seen a hop farm before, it's kind of a sight. It's got like these tall, probably 20 feet tall posts with cross beams, and then another post about 30 feet away, and so on and so on and so on for hundreds and hundreds of feet. And along all these posts are strings that hang down that the hops grow up. And this is where we find Rifki. She is a cloven, and she has this bluish, but with like a hint of green, like a tealy kind of colored skin. And obviously, as her people do, she has horns, and hers kind of curve back along the curve of her head, almost like a ram. One of them has a very deep notch in it. It looks like she was an inch from losing the horn entirely. You find her kind of glistening with sweat as she has made it down probably 3/4 of this row of hops. You see one, like 3/4 of this with just bare strings and piles at the bottom of each. And then you see her like looking up this string, which is still just covered with the plant, the hop plant. And then she looks over her shoulder where there is about a 15-foot tall radius. This radius looks, very spindly almost. It has the head shape almost like a hornet would. It's got these wings that look sharp, that look deadly in and of themselves. They look almost like blades off of the back of this thing. You can see that in places the blue paint is starting to chip Most of this is blue, kind of an iridescent blue, almost like an insect, with speckled greens. But in little places where the paint is starting to chip, you can see that underneath this was once red, bright red, like making a statement. And everybody of Eskhara would know what that red on Apparatus means, as Rifki was once part of the Edict Eternal, and all of their Apparatuses are red, and it's kind of to prove a point and make a statement, like I said. So anyway, she looks at Stratus and she goes, "Hup hup," and the thing grabs her by her waist and lifts her up to the top of this string, where she starts picking the hops off and just dropping them to the ground. And as though the Apparatus itself is bored, all of a sudden, as she's picking and as she's focused, it like drops her about 6 inches, just enough for her to like panic, grab the string, and then it pulls its hand away entirely, leaving her dangling like shit, and like just like holding, just dangling 20 feet helplessly above the ground, and be like, "Stratus, knock it off, it's not fucking funny." And she is like helpless up there and essentially stuck, and you can hear the Apparatus make a sound, and one might mistake it for laughter if you didn't know any better. And all of a sudden, she's almost thinking it's funny too, until she starts to hear voices that she hasn't heard in a long time, saying things like it's time to fight the nightmares again, and feel feelings that she hasn't felt in a long time, feelings that aren't hers, but at the same time are familiar. She's like, "Stratus, I'm not joking, get me down." And seeming to sense the seriousness, Stratus grabs her by the waist. She makes very quick work of the rest of this string, and when she gets to the bottom, just kind of sighs and looks back at the work she's done. And very much the way several of my compatriots have noticed, there is a beautiful sunset, almost a reminder of what she may not have anymore in the very near future. This beauty and peace and calm. And that's it.
As we sort of complete this introduction to the characters, the Stratus and Rifki, in a very anime style, we see the screen splinter into 6 pieces. Each piece showing you and your Apparatus. But the number 1 slot is a void, blank. Each of you in your various locations with your Apparatus, you begin to feel those connections of your Nexus, the ones that never fully went away. You begin to feel them more prominently. One of the side effects or permanent effects of the Nexus, being in a Nexus, unless you are severed, is this connection, especially a Nexus like the 6, who were so intrinsically tied together and were trauma bound. It's always there. You always innately know more or less where each other are. And if somebody is feeling a particular emotion acutely, then all of you feel that. But now, all of these emotions and now even snippets of thought are beginning to rise to the surface. But amongst that harmonic hum that is your Nexus, you all sense the missing note of that harmony. The void where number 1 was. And then you all hear it for just a fraction of a moment. That 6th note, the harmony is complete, and then it's gone. It's been years since any of you have felt anything from the void left by number 1. And in this moment, all across Eskhara, you have each felt that same feeling, that same thought. In the fraction of a second, you feel that same final moment, pain, fear, and immediate silence. A moment later, somewhere within your equipment, you all have a communication device. It's just something you've probably even forgotten about. You've had it with you out of habit. You've had it with you for so long. A light lights up. It is the recall indicator from your skyship, the Blazing Fury. You are all being called back to your skyship. In classic Star Wars fashion, we're going to have a clock wipe. As I would like to know, real quickly decide amongst you, or I'll roll randomly, who the last one of you is to show up. Jay has raised his hand. So Jay it shall be. So all of you are already on board the Blazing Fury. You're in the Apparatus Bay. The Blazing Fury is a corvette, a hardened battle ship. But as each of you are already waiting, we see Nixido and Hivekeeper showing up. And we see what each of you saw. That Nixido, you are now seeing for the first time. This sleek, if not aged and worn, skyship. We see where the Apparatus Bay is in the belly of the skyship. In long faded and chipping paint, we see each of the 6 bays indicated by number. But the thing that stands out most to you, Nixido, as you are heading towards Bay 3, is the gaping hole in the hull of the docking bay where docking bay 1 is. This is new. You even see that there are still pieces of metal that are floating in the nearby space. You see very small skiff-like airships, skyships that are moving almost like insects around, buzzing around where this damage is, beginning and you can see some of the menders beginning repair work. As you pass close by and you land in the bay, I would like to give you the opportunity as Nixido and Hivekeeper land in the Apparatus Bay. I would like to turn the floor over to all of you now as the group. You are all meeting for the first time in years, seeing each other. Who talks to who first?
I imagine Rifki would approach Kin first. Kin is a Cloven, correct? So I imagine we have always had kind of a special bond. There's stuff that the Cloven have to worry about, mainly like the doomed and becoming doomed, that others don't have to worry about. And so there's kind of a shared struggle there, and so a shared bond. And so I think Rifki would go immediately to Kin and be like, my Kin. And I think immediately just throw her arms around Kin.
And much like in Kin's fashion, she's like, first her hands go up like this, like, no, please don't touch me. And then you hug her and she.
Whoopoosh, whoopoosh. Yeah, immediately. It's too much. It's wax your hands
Like,
away and then.
"Oh." And she can't help but laugh as she gives you a genuine hug in return. Oh, Rifki, it is very good to see you. And her Ember Hound is just standing there watching.
God, that is incredible. I would pull you back and kind of like look you over, almost like a elder sibling would, and you look like you've kept well. And what is your Ember Hound? Is that what it is?
Yes.
What is its name?
I think she would probably just call it Ember, because like she's not. I don't imagine her being super creative.
I think Rifki would lean down on one knee and be like, "How you doing, Fire Mutt?" And like would like ruffle him a little bit.
Oh, this makes Ember very happy.
And then once again she would look at you and be like, "What have you been up to?"
Oh, just trying to bring the old farm back and doing a few other things, getting some information on you know who, so
Cryptic and mysterious as always.
always.
And I would just laugh and immediately, is there a spot on this ship where liquor is kept?
If there isn't, there's a spot where you hid liquor once upon a time.
100%. I think Rifki would go over to like a side paneling and bend down where there's like a little gap and like reach up under and like feel around and be like, ah, and like pull it out. And of course there's a flask there and be like, it's better with age. And then take a sip.
I think as you retrieve this flask of booze, you'll turn around and you'll see Ori there. She's got bags under her eyes. Her hair's a mess. She's been staying up all night, like grading papers for her students until this thing pinged, and she's like, "Oh, my apparatus is malfunctioning." She's been staying up all night trying to fix it, and she finally realizes, no, the recall's real, and she's here, and she's just like, "Can I have some of that, please?" As she holds up her coffee mug,
Rifki
expecting
kind
to
of
just, mix it.
Rifki looks at you and smiles and winks and immediately gives you probably a shot and a half's worth and be like, "You know, all that teaching shortens your life, I heard."
I got recruited at the academy, wanted the best of the best, and I don't really want to teach, to be honest.
Who would?
I can't stand day in. I don't have time to work on my research. I don't have time to crack the code. I was so close, you know? And then it's just all, and then she just she rants on and on and on about like how miserable it is that her teaching experience has been so far. But then, then she concludes like, no, it's a good work. It's good to see a new, fresh face, fresh generation of faces. You know, it's what I do to make sure that the next generation is fit in case another Hive Wars happens or something worse.
And I imagine a lot of Ori's rant Rifki kind of tuned out because it was very high-minded and academic and she doesn't understand any of it, but she's trying so hard to be polite and like listen and be like, "Oh yeah like
And she'll like clap you on the upper arm and like, "Thanks for listening. Sorry, it was a lot, I know. How have you been?"
I've been good. And I imagine you might notice, Ori, since the last time you saw Rifki, she has all Cloven have like kind of not scales, but kind of like extra calloused like sections of her shoulders. And as they age, that kind of extends further down and becomes harder on the shoulders. Sort of, it like grows. And you would notice that it has grown, and maybe that hits you for the first time how long it's been. And she's like, I've been good. I'm working out on the God, what do we call it? The outer banks. No, the outer drifts. Been on the outer drifts.
The
Yeah,
outer
working-
drifts. I've heard it's nice this time of year.
It's beautiful. It's
Never been
beautiful.
there myself.
Oh, you need
You
to
know,
come
hold
sometime.
up. Well, maybe I'll take a little trip down. Who am I kidding? I'm never going to get any free time for that. I'm sorry.
Well, when you inevitably decide to quit, you got to come on out. I work at a brewery, whole hop farm anyway, and I help them harvest. And actually, whatever this is, interrupted the harvest. It was right in the middle. It was going to be a good year.
Speaking of, do you know why we're here?
I feel like I do, but I don't. I mean, obviously we're all here, so we know we're supposed to be here, but I guess I don't know why.
I thought my big guy I thought he was just having a little bit of a malfunction. I went in and the signal was real. I thought maybe there was some kind of emergency that was happening, but doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know.
Not to sound like I'm losing my mind, but did anybody hear or feel numero uno?
The feeling kind of woke me up.
It can't be. It can't be though, right?
I honestly, I don't know. I can't tell you.
I don't know. Maybe we'll just wait for the others. You know what? Let's wait for the others. I'm sure they'll know more than we do. In the meantime, I say the three of us drink.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Let's keep
cheers to this unexpected reunion. She clinks her coffee mug that's been half filled with a flask of whatever you've got going on, and she takes it back.
As you clink glasses, a third glass just like appears.
Jesus!
And clinks with you.
Ah.
And then you notice that this axolotl, again cloaked, can't see their face, just slinks back into the shadows at the corner of the room again, and starts to sip from their cup. And then if you look up, just nods back at you.
What's up, Humbit?
And just raises the glass. It is good for 4 to C6 again.
Is good 4 to C4 again. And I kind of give him that reassuring, like, clasp on the shoulder. If he has a shoulder. I forget what your shape is, bro.
Think salamander with really big fuzzy ears.
Right,
So,
perfect. I think I maybe tweak one of your big fuzzy ears. Not hard, but like a sibling would.
As soon as you make contact, I kind of slink away. And it's just this really kind of like anxious, uncomfortable, but I get a couple of steps and I stand right back up straight. And I just kind of nod.
And I imagine, yeah, Rifki just kind of keeps... Rifki is fully comfortable getting bombed and just waiting for a sign right now.
I would say that sign, or that what you hear next is you hear and see the arrival of Nixito.
And as you notice, his apparatus is different from what you remember. It appears to have been given almost a fresh coat of paint and or some like additions to it from like years ago, but it's almost as if time is also, it's not a clean paint job, it's not a clean black, there's the new red marks streaks on it. but it looks faded too, like it was done almost like the 10-15 years ago, like right away. And then there's little things that may have changed over the years. And as his Radis comes in, or excuse me, their Radis comes in, kind of barks, they come out. It takes them a little while to kind of settle in, as if they're taking some deep breaths and trying to figure out coming out to say hello, and building the courage up to leave and actually see the team again. And eventually this Ettercap type just kind of opens up from the bottom, and down comes Nix, or Nick, excuse me, Nixito. And as they come down, you see they've got a bag on their like satchel, and then some small insects are crawling, and they're like a larger, almost spider-like bee combination legs. They're dressed, they kind of, as they're coming down and coming forward, and they're looking at the hole, and starts to walk over to the hole where one was, and just looks at it for a few seconds, a minute.
Does anybody else take note of the hole where Nixito is looking out in the empty bay of the hold number 1's bastion apparatus?
Is this like close to where we are now?
I was gonna say, imagine like if it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like we're hanging out near 6's apparatus, then that'd be right next to 1, you know.
So
Sure,
in
sure.
my
Oh, like-
mind, my mind, there's sort of like this common area, because the Corvette is sort of a long, sleek skyship. I'm picturing it sort of like in the belly, that it's 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06. So they're kind of in a line, or vice versa. I guess it would make more sense if one was near the front. And that's sort of the one that's closest to where the assembly area is.
And is this the first time we've been back to the ship since the incident? Okay.
It is.
I think you see Rifki make a motion where she like puts her hand on her heart and then like puts her hand out as though offering something. And that's a universal thing for Cloven. It's a respect mourning.
I think Kin is just standing there staring at it with her arms crossed. Like once Rifki kind of went to go find her booze, like Kin just turned and she's just looking at this empty hole.
Do you wonder, anybody know why this year? As like clicks at the beginning and clicks at the end can be heard.
I was about to ask you the same thing. Ori asks, a little bit flush in the cheeks for sure from sharing drinks with the others.
I don't know.
Nixitu is happy. I mean, Nix. You prefer Nix. I call myself. Nix is happy to see you under circumstances.
We're happy to see you too, Nix. As Rifki continues to kind of look out into this void.
It's a bit of an elephant in the room, isn't it?
Yeah.
She'll whisper to you.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be better if there was an elephant in the room. Then there would at least be, something in the room instead of that. And she kind of like points at the vast effing nothingness of space.
I kind of picture this view of for a moment, you're all sort of gathered within this assembly area or within the bay of number 1, and the camera kind of pans out briefly as we see this gaping hole that's being repaired. And then you all hear behind you.
I whip around fast.
Ori will give a little bit of a squeak of being startled. She clutches at her neck. I think probably like hides behind you, Rifki, like kind of like holding on to like your
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I can see it. Rifki like immediately like bent knees up on her toes, like ready to kick somebody's ass.
Ember lets out a very loud growl at the clearing of someone's throat that they don't remember. And Kin just kind of looks over.
As everybody's whipping around to see who the sound belongs to, the camera sort of zooms in quickly, low to the ground, as we see this imposing figure of a Buffarog in the Buffarog kin, who looks like a aged snapping turtle with a eye patch over his left eye. His shell is cracked and chipped in places. Some of the spikes along the edges are broken off. On his shoulders, he wears the epaulets showing his rank of admiral. And you all recognize Admiral Grux, the admiral of the Blazing Fury, and the one who always maintained or made sure you arrived where you needed to for your missions, provided support from the Blazing Fury, who was in every battle and who was there when number 1 vanished. As we're sort of looking up from this low angle, the camera suddenly cuts to sort of a wide angle, and we see that Admiral Grux is actually only about 4 feet tall. He cuts an imposing figure for such a short Buffarog, but it's a figure you've not seen since all of you last left. He looks across all of you and you hear, "I've never seen a more sorry, morose-looking bunch of fragment farmers in all my days. You can practically see the cobwebs, no offense, Nix."
Rifki rolls her eyes and doesn't snap to attention, but like kind of begrudgingly like gets there and then just like waits for him to say what he wants to say and get the fuck away from us.
You don't any of you look happy to be here.
Listen, it's been a long night, she says as she's like plays with her hair a bit. I imagine you brought us all here for a reason, she says a bit short, as she like unhides herself from behind Rifki to stand up against this guy.
The fact that you're all here without me having to come searching for you tells me that at least we have a common interest. I hope you've kept your radishes tuned.
Nix is good. We are fine.
And as you can see, Aegis is missing. You all would know that Aegis is, or was, the Bastion apparatus that belonged to number 1. When number 1 was lost they were on foot. They had left their apparatus. And Admiral Grux made sure that the apparatus was docked on board the Blazing Fury. And that was the last place you saw it when you all left so long ago. I'm not entirely sure how or why it happened. But suddenly, Aegis powered up of its own accord. Didn't even bother to go through launch protocols. Didn't even bother to open the bay doors. Just blasted its way through the side.
I imagine Rifki kind of like cracks a tiny little smirk at that, because like that was the vibe of Aegis, and she kind of has forgotten that until just this moment. But like in her head, she's like, classic Aegis. Like that is totally something they would do.
So I would like to employ our first test, actually.
Nice.
I would like all of you to test your ether.
Oh, great.
This is sort of a knowledge kind of a check. There are 4 aspects that the characters have: stone, flux, aether, and I just blanked on the 4th one. Hearth. And so what you are attempting to do, if I'm not mistaken, again, this is where it's a whole new rule system. Testing your aspects. During tests, you're rolling a d20. You're attempting to roll under your score in that aspect. So what I'm looking for is a success. The number you roll means nothing to me if I don't actually have your character sheet. So.
Right. Sorry.
Also,
you'll all be happy to know I just rolled a nat 20, which in this game is bad.
Oh, that means so. There's actually a thing to do about that.
Oh, is there? Oh, great.
I'm kind
Do
of
I lose an insanity point.
wrong system.
Yeah, I know.
So
Shut up,
yeah,
Jeremy.
so that is what's called despair in this game. When you roll a nat 20, it's despair. When you roll a nat 1, it's triumph. And then you gain favor or hindrance on certain rolls. So we've got Ori and Kin and Umbit are rolling successes. What did you roll?
I rolled a 6, so success.
Also a success. Carrie, I'm going to go ahead and have you roll on the Triumph and Despair table. So I'm going to have you roll a
Triumph
D10.
and Despair table. Okay. Triumph and Despair table. That's fun. Great. 7. Lucky 7. It's probably going to be something not so bad if it's lucky 7.
So as I'm looking at this seems like it's more in line with things that happen in battle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a seer call, because I'm the seer and I can do that. And I'm not going to make you. I'm gonna nix your roll. And the next time I call for a test from you, you will do so with hindrance. That means you will roll 2 d20s and take the worst number.
The worst number, which is the bigger number.
Yes.
Presumably.
So those of you that succeeded, which looks like it was everybody but Rifki.
I'm distracted.
You all know that your Radis should not activate on its own, independent of its night. It's Aetheric Night. It's not unheard of for Radises to operate independently, and yours all do within proximity or while acting in connection with you. Your Radises are sort of dependent on that. So the fact that Aegis activated on its own and blasted through, and the timing that Admiral Grux explains to you is seems to coincide with when you felt that blip of number 1 on your neck. So all of you understand the implication that's tied to this. Admiral Grux explains, we don't know why Aegis activated after all this time, but we were able to track it further into the outer drifts. It was last seen near Cirium. Cirium, for those of you most familiar with the Outer Drifts, and given that Ori has stated that she's not been to the Outer Drifts, Cirium is a fragment that is actually comprised of mostly battle destroyed and damaged skyships from the wars, but there are pieces of it that comprise fragments of fragments, if you will, and even the remnants of Apparatus. And it is all tied together with vegetation. Now, in your mind, you might be thinking this has sort of a Tortuga sort of vibe about it. Think Tortuga, but if it was less hive of piracy and more hippie commune.
Sick. Love it.
I think that Ori would immediately bombard this this guy with like questions like, well, did you get a read on the on the tether pod readings? And she's already like going over to where like part of the, like I mentioned, there's probably like jacks or something that would be where the apparatus would sit in this place. She's trying to like open up, and you know, she's like trying to diagnose everything. Well, you're sure that
I want you to
the way
make
that the resonance would.
I want you to make an Aether test, but I want you to do so with
amazing.
favor.
Out of you.
With favor, that okay.
Yep. So you'll roll 2d20 and take the
That's
better
going to be
of
a
the two.
5, which is under, so I succeed.
So as you're asking these questions, you almost immediately get your answer, because where these connections would be that would tie the apparatus to the docking bay, you realize that the device that's sort of like where all your radiuses are connected for recharging and for diagnostics and everything else, you realize that device is missing. It's been ripped out of the wall. So sudden was Aegis's departure that it basically took part of the docking bay with it.
I think that Ori is the one who built that thing that has been ripped out of the wall, and she'll like, it's gone. I mean, it wasn't that. I've fixed the design since we last used it. I'm on to a Mark IV design now of this recharging stuff. But she realized, oh, it's gone. It ripped out with this. If only it was here, I could have seen. And she's like just begins to like mumble off in technobabble about how we could have figured out what's going on with the Aegis, the Aegis apparatus.
Well, the best way to find out where it's going is to follow where it went.
Sir, with all due respect, what makes you think that we can find it? If it was strong enough to rip the charging pod out of the wall, leave this ship without opening the door, and going off to who knows where, it probably doesn't want to be found, and that probably means we're not going to be able to find it. Wouldn't you say?
Admiral Grux makes a clacking sound with his beak, sort of clicking it in rapid succession, almost like a chittering sound. It's a habit that he picked up during the war. It mimics the chittering of an Ogdra. It's just this sort. Think of it kind of like, you know, that sound the Predator makes,
sound?
the Predator
Yes.
clicking. Yeah, it's kind of like that. He does that, and you know that sound is the sound he makes when he knows that you should know better, that you're dodging. I'm trying to think how to explain that. It's like, I guess it's kind of like tutting, like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually looks at you and he says, "Is it that you think Aegis doesn't want to be found? You're afraid of what you might find when you get there?"
If it's possible for Rifki to stand taller than she is, and she's fairly tall already, she stands taller and kind of puffs out her chest a little bit and be like, "I'm not afraid."
Admiral Grux looks around at everybody else, and I need you to, I guess, in a moment of just honesty, is Rifki afraid and lying? Because remember, you're all in a nexus and you can
Right.
feel each other's emotions. So
Right.
what does everybody else feel when you say "I'm not afraid"?
All of you guys feel that she definitely is. And part of the reason she is again, Rifki has this like ever present under the current fear of becoming doomed, which essentially for the Cloven, for those who didn't read up on the material, was is essentially like if they become maddened, which happens to them kind of a lot. And she felt in the moment of the last battle when number one fell, she felt probably as close to that as she ever has. And so the idea, allowing herself to hope that maybe Aegis is out there looking for something or looking for number one, maybe, you know, like any of that, letting that in is absolutely terrifying for her. She's trying really hard to not show it.
Rifki, you feel a hand on your shoulder. There was nobody to your left a moment ago, but there's a hand on your shoulder. Aegis is of one. One is of the six. The six will find Aegis.
The
think-
thing,
Yeah, Rifki looks down and kind of like nods.
all the six suddenly feel that feeling of guilt coming from Nyx. That the guilt that was present when number one died, because Nyx felt responsible. Because he saved one of you he chose to save one of you instead of Prime.
Oh.
Because Prime had stepped away from his tower shield that he carries and his energy barrier. And he had to choose between Prime and one of you. And I have a feeling it was six and that healing factor that they're known to give out and bring back. They've brought back six from the brink before with his augments, and yeah, after that you just that warm that guilt feeling just kind of like lays in, because Prime had to leave his Radis because he was not within range to get protected.
You can see Admiral Grux is kind of shifting from foot to foot for these few moments that pass silently amongst you. And he grumbles something under his breath, but he doesn't take it too seriously. You know that Admiral Grux has always been jealous of the shared connection of the Nexus. He commands the airship. He commands the skyship Blazing Fury. He does not have that connection that you all shared. The closest he had is during battle, having open communications for your verbal communications, having status arrays of your Apparatuses. He looks again at you, Rifki. He looks around at the rest of you and says, "Look up there." And he points in the assembly area at where a couple of the docking bay crew have written in, as is custom, they've written in the information for as you all have docked. You see your name, you see your number, and you see your Raddus name, and you see what frame it is. And in the number 1 slot, you all see number 1. Frame, Raddus frame Bastion, name Aegis. You see Aetheric Night in Cauldron, name, and it's blank.
Oh, somebody put a sigil on that boy.
And you realize none of you remember number 1. It's not really, sorry, it's not a realization. You're reminded that so sudden and so severe was the severing of number 1 in that moment, that the knowledge of their name was lost to them. Which makes the name Aegis next to Bastion seem all the more prominent and important. Look, I'm just your skyship taxi driver. I'll take you wherever you want to go. But if Bastion took off on its own accord, it's after something. My trail goes cold. At Cerium. If you agree, I'll take you there and see if you can pick up the trail. Can I get... I'm gonna actually say this feels, and anybody can jump in when the revelation comes, but this feels like Humbit specific. I would like an Aether check from test from Humbit. I want to see if you know something.
Yes, by one whole point.
Okay.
An 11 rolled a 10.
When first Cerium was mentioned, it sort of rang familiar in your mind. And yeah, you recognized it as for what it is. It's the place that the fragment that was made up of other fragments of broken things. But just now, as Admiral Grux was talking, you realized that there's another reason Cerium sounds familiar. There is a disgraced Aetheric Knight that calls Cerium home. His name is Calro. And his Raddus was a magus called Doomspeaker. What is it? Why is it that Calro and Doomspeaker are disgraced? And why are they hiding out in Cerium?
I think Doomseeker was tasked with Doomseeker was tasked with protection of a lord or an important figure that was assassinated at the hands of the Six.
Interesting.
That's
like it.
very good.
Like it. Yeah, one of the wealthy Coreward families. Okay. So yeah, you know that this person has taken refuge. I think as this knowledge sort of slips to the forefront, it becomes everybody else's now because of the Nexus. There's that moment of shared, you're sort of getting a new piece of information. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like when you're a close-knit group of college friends that haven't seen each other for years, and now you get back together, and it's the equivalent of, hey, did you hear what happened to...
Oh, God.
As you're suddenly learning this piece of information.
Yeah.
And again, looking uncomfortable as you all are having this silent communication, Admiral Grux just goes, I'll take your silence to mean yes. And he turns, takes a few steps, turns back to all of you as if to... And then he just looks past you at that gaping hole where Aegis escaped. And he holds his words as he makes his way to the bridge. And moments later, you all can see through the gaping hole as the blazing fury makes a turn, comes about, and begins heading to further into the outer drifts towards Cirium. And that is where we're going to take our break.
Yee.
I'm on fire tonight. Dead on 8:25. I didn't even...
Dang,
I told these guys beforehand we were going to take a break about 8:25. I just glanced at the clock as I said that, and it's dead 8:25.
That's
My God.
awesome.
So, I hope everybody's enjoying this so far. Tamiko, if you're still there in chat, if you could drop exclamation point Nexus or somebody with the buy link to the Aether Nexus. Congrats to Doug in Texas who won our giveaway.
Hey, Doug and
Congrats.
We're gonna if you guys want to spread the word, we're gonna give away another copy partway through the second half of this game. But we're gonna take about roughly a 5 to 10 minute break, and then we'll be back for the second half of part 1 of Aether Nexus, the Severed Knight Trilogy. We'll see you on the other side. And we're back.
Woo-hoo.
As the Corvette skyship Blazing Fury cuts a path, almost looking like a shark with moray, was it the moray eels or the whatever it is, the eels that attach themselves to the sharks. It kind of, that's what it looks like with these little skiffs that are moving right alongside, mending this hole in the hull of the apparatus docking pods on the ship. It's been at least 2 days of voyaging to get to Cirium. You've had time to adjust to life back aboard the Blazing Fury, tending to your radices, tending to yourselves, getting to know, and sort of, whether voluntary or not, in such close proximity, you're sort of forced to reattune to one another. As you approach Cirium, this is the fragment that is made up of all of these pieces. I would like to throw it to all of you to each tell me one thing that you notice in particular in this lashed together fragment made from the scraps of the war. And let's just because I don't get to use these often in this game because the seer doesn't actually roll much dice.
Oh,
Carrie.
great. So is this how? You tell me this, and then I will respond.
No, you're going to tell
how
me.
How big is this?
You're going to tell me.
Oh my god. God. Okay. Is it just floating out in space there?
I mean, it's like all of the
In the air.
fragments, all of the pieces of Eskhara.
just
This
kind
is
of
sort of
suspended.
between fragments,
Mhm.
and it's large enough to be recognized as its own fragment. I'll say that.
Okay. I guess I noticed that this fragment is almost exactly equal parts natural land, quote unquote, mass, and the scraps of broken, destroyed Radis. Some are like partial, like the top halves or the bottom halves, and some are almost altogether whole. But now almost all of them have gone brown with rust and are very clearly inoperable and have been that way for a very long time.
One aspect of Cerium that I'll add to this, as you throw it to somebody else, is
Mhm.
all of these pieces are lashed together with vegetation, mostly thick vines and almost like branches of trees that rise up from these actual earthen fragments. It looks like as more and more pieces were added, that the vegetation began to grow naturally through it and bind it together.
Mm.
Where are you throwing it to?
So I rolled, so this is totally random. I'm throwing it to Sarah. I rolled number 2.
Whoa there. If that's how we're gonna do this, this will be fun. So I think what Kin sees as they're moving through the drifts and getting close to Cerium, I imagine from above, maybe as they're getting above Cerium, they happen to fall on a barren part of the land where it just looks like black sand, just from all of the different pieces of just not even just like space rock, but of the different destroyed apparatuses and maybe even ships that have been destroyed by here. Shavings or just large pieces that basically incinerated and exploded the moment it hit have turned this into almost black sand. And I think that's the big thing that catches her eye.
I think that those of you that are more familiar with Cerium know that this area, this barren area that looks like black sand, is called black salt because it's not truly soil. Nothing grows here. Where are you throwing it to?
I also rolled for random funsies and I got 5. So we're handing it to Vi.
Perfect.
There is a species of raptor that lives here, and it has adapted to this jungly vegetative environment. They're small, a little bit larger than a chicken in size, but they are completely not as harmless as a chicken might be. They're long, sleek, lithe, adorned with these rust-colored feathers, and adorned with both metallic fangs and claws because of their diet. They hunt both the meat of small, birds and whatever, and shrews that live in this scrap-ridden jungle. But most notably, they eat these little mites that burrow and grow into the rusted sections of old radices and other discarded machinery. And it's through these little rust mites that they get their metallic sheen to their feathers and their claws.
That is so cool.
I think even as you're noticing some of these bird creatures moving in and amongst some of the wreckage, your eye catches sight of a predator, a six-legged cat-like creature, the size of a dog, medium-sized dog. It has evolved in a way that its fur is, at first, appears to be rust-covered. Seems like you notice it because you see what looks like a rusty patch moving across one of the Radis frames. And suddenly it lunges towards one of these creatures, these bird-like creatures. And where a moment before there was a six-legged predator cat, in a flurry of metallic wings, the bird spins about, and the cat-like creature falls into pieces.
Oh.
No match for the metal-tipped wings of this bird-like creature. And thus, the circle of life plays out on Sirium. Where are you throwing it to?
Throw it to you, Dwight.
Humbit is standing next to Admiral Grux. Grux?
Yep.
My Star Wars brain wants to say Hux. I know that's not right. Thanks, Jake. What's the name of this planet again?
Sirium.
Sirium. Sirium smells of the abyss. And if there's sensors that would pick it up or not, there is the prevalence of fissures on this planet is higher than normal. And Humbit, it picks up on it. But there's a strong connection both to the Aether and also through fissures to the abyss. And it's one of the reasons why this planet is a place for people to hide, because nobody wants to be there.
You've actually landed on this is kind of interesting because I've been riffing on each of your ideas, but this is something I actually wrote down. You've stumbled into exactly what one of the features of this place is. The vegetation, you realize, and specifically what you notice about it, is that a lot of it is fed through something referred to as lost the word here. Dream drip, which is I lost the table. The beauty of this game is there are so many tables. And the downside is I can't find the table I'm looking for that says exactly what it is. It's a basically Dream Drip is a small, it's where there's runoff from leaking from the Aether rivers that are coming through the cracks in reality, and it is what provides nourishment for the vegetation that locks so much of this stuff together. But also sort of a sign of the connection to the abyss that you noted, Humbit, is you can see that there are certain places where these vines are, as you watch, you see this sort of puff of a it almost looks like embers bursting forth from a vine, and you realize that there are fungal spores. There's fungus growing along sections of these vines, and they're emitting fungus spores that some have taken to using these as a sort of a psychotropic meditative known as gazer spores, allowing the user, depending on their mental state, to have visions within the Aether or the Abyss. I guess that leaves Nyx.
So Nyx is looking at the landscape, and what they notice is that in certain parts of where the vegetation is grown, away from where the puffing embers are, in a different location as they pass, there's a few of these flowers that grow out of certain vine patch. There's like a patch where the vine kind of grows, and there's a flower that kind of comes off of it, just a short stem. Some of them are like right there. Others have a little bit longer stem, and some of them seem to be large. So they're varying in sizes. And as these flowers of different colors, there's metallic colors, some shimmer with the light. Some are more rustic color based off of where they are and what radices they're attached to and go through as well. But then once in a while, there are some of the larger groupings of these flowers. I mean, there's flowers about, your normal size of a daisy flower, but then there's some larger just flower, like probably a good 5 feet, just bulb. And then coming out there's a small insect, metallic, and suddenly within this section in the center of where this flower is, it opens up, and this metallic mouth just comes out and grabs this thing and kind of brings it back in. And you feel this twinge as suddenly is like almost a kin just got eaten. But they know that it's the circle of life, but it's just that sudden twinge of watching this process and noting that these different areas of flowers can be deadly.
I think something you would know about these flowers and their relationship with the insects that they eat. Within Eskhara, there is something that is called lumen froth. It's a sweet effervescent drink made with lumen and other botanicals. There's lots of vibrant varieties made from different types of flowers, kind of like mead. The type of honey that's used affects the flavor. You know that these particular plants are used to make a very potent version of lumen froth because its key ingredient is the digestive juices. When they close up and are eating these metallic insects, that it part of the process is a natural fermentation. And it's very rare and very valuable because nobody wants to come here and harvest the stuff. And the people that are here, they're happy to just let the circle of life play out. Eventually, though, you arrive to an area where it becomes the closest you're going to find to a place for the Blazing Fury to dock. And you all can descend to the surface. There is plenty of space on Cirium for you to descend with your apparatus. In fact, I think it would be unusual for you to go without your anywhere. But I'll leave that choice to you. Does anybody not go in there, Radis?
Oh, I'm in my Radis.
Okay.
100%.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
if you'll allow me this moment of, I think we see a couple of those sort of rust cats in pursuit of some of these. I think somebody dubbed them Razor Raptors. Violet dubbed Razor Raptors. They're kind of scattering, chasing. Who's chasing who is hard to tell at this point. It's just sort of as close to an idyllic scene as you'll get in Cirium. And then suddenly they scatter as this sort of view of this wide space, we just see as the first Radis lands, probably one of the biggest of them, which would be Ori and Big Guy. As others of you come either kind of hero landing, or I imagine at least one of you kind of probably lands a little more delicately. Blink Fiend, I almost envision kind of like phasing in, but you all arrive, however it is that you arrive. And you find yourself, now that you're on the surface, you can see that there's natural walkways that are made of wide branches, interwoven with where the wood has grown over and intermingled with sections of flat metal parts of skyships and Radis. There's places where you might actually walk in through the open cockpit of a massive skyship and emerge out the side somewhere else. There's a few people in the area. You see a range of kin here. There's some Cloven, some Kimru. There seems to be an inordinate amount of Bufrog, of all varieties. What would you all like to do?
It's really something being back in the old beast, huh? Out here with you guys.
Imagine that the terrain is a little bit unsteady, especially for a big, almost unbalanced Radis like Big Guy is. And she's like, "Oh, steady, whoa!" As she's like trying to not crush too much of the underbrush. And she says to all of you, "It's been a long time since I've been in hooked up with Big Guy. Oh, it's definitely not like riding a bike, that's for sure." As she tries to get a handle of the controls again, and she's like smacking into like trees and the underbrush and the scrap panels of debris in here before she gets a bearing.
As Ori says, it's not like riding a bike. It pans over to Stratus, who has Rifki inside, doing like very elaborate like sword work, going like clearly some of us are having more of a learning curve than others. It's like, and then she's like sheaths the sword and be like, yeah, it's awkward, weird.
I just imagine that in unison, not only does everyone hear Kin just kind of groan like ugh, but Morana, her apparatus, even groans like it's not that hard, guys.
Nyx is just seeing everything from behind because they're in the back, just they kind of stand in the taking their time to get out as everyone else, but it's just seeing all this, it's just taking it in and remembering the process of
Perhaps then that Ori is the one that has spent the longest time outside of Apparatus, having it been just like sitting under a tarp for many, many, many years. Unlike the rest of you who are perhaps, a bit more engaged with your Apparatus. I think she looks around and realizes that no one else is having the same issue as her. And she tries to straighten up, and you see try to get his posture back again, and of course. Well, no, I'll be fine. It's easy as pie to move around. And I think she takes a brazen step forward and crunches through something and gets stuck again.
just for fun, roll me. Let's roll a flux test.
Yeah, flux is her worst stat by far. So, it's gonna be a fail by a wide margin here. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I think there's this comical moment of you, just as you think you're getting your bearings, you step on a piece that hasn't yet, the vegetation hasn't fully latched onto yet, and it flips up as your foot goes through into a space. The piece that flips up sends another piece launching that goes across this field, hits something, and one entire section of piled radius debris just goes. You just cause this. It's just this hole. There's finally you get that little. It's like a hubcap type piece, just comes spinning around next to
you. I hope no one was using that. And she glances over her shoulder to see the now reduced to rubble landslide of scrap.
You see,
Nyx thinks 5 did well. Nyx thinks 5 gave alarm to everyone. Now we will find what we need to find quicker. Good job, number 5.
You do see that at least several of the Razor Raptors are quickly flocking over like chickens to cast feed. You've just loosened a bunch of fresh new metal for them. So silver lining, I guess.
Yeah.
I would like everybody to make me, except for Ori, who is otherwise occupied, I would like the rest of you to make an Aether test, please.
Dang it.
Aether as an AE, not Aether?
Aether, not Hearth.
Or Hearth. Okay.
That's a 1.
I actually passed.
A 1 is
I
a
passed.
triumph.
I
Aether is
rolled
my
a
worst
2.
thing.
Okay. So, what did you get, Sarah?
I got a 6, and my number to beat is a 10.
Okay.
So I succeeded.
You passed. Because of your triumph on this, I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. I have to roll with penalty. I just remembered.
You're rolling
I
with
did
hindrance.
not pass.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you're ultimately probably going to be saved because of Umbit's triumph. A new page it goes. Go ahead and just roll a d10. I want to see if this actually applies. You're not really in combat, but
It's a 4.
Okay. There is a condition, I believe, called fortified. That's what you get. You become fortified. What I would like you to do, Dwight, is 1, I want you to describe what does an errant thought look like? This is it's a fragment of knowledge that has consciousness, that has seeped in to reality from the ether.
Yeah, you see this like pulsing crystal. It's kind of like a bluish color. It's got a little bit of a glow to it. As it's moving, you see it kind of pulse, and it changes shape from like a diamond into more of a cube. There's a little bit of like a wispiness kind of trailing off of it, but it's definitely and it's boreal. It's there, like you can see it. It's not yeah, there's solidity to it. So yeah.
With that knowledge, and because of your triumph, how is it that you pin, trap, grab, or otherwise contain this errant thought that was moving towards you with the intent of causing harm?
I think so for I have this what is it? It's the Aether step is one of my maneuvers, and it basically opens a I'm able to, I'm sorry, that's not right. Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. But yeah, basically I step through this portal opens up and allows me to blink and transport to, as this thing is coming towards us, I materialize right behind it, and Four's arm reaches out and just kind of grabs it. No.
You see those wisps, those tendrils wrapping around your arm, and these tendrils wrap and lash like tentacles almost. And you realize your suspicion of this place is true, that the ether is being allowed to, as it seeps into the area around Cerium, it is being tainted by the abyss. It's being tainted by these spores. What you have grabbed is known as an etheric aberrate. It is, in fact, known as an errant thought. You also know that where there's one, there are many.
Does it, like, am I able to interact with it at all? Is it like...
It's a physical thing that you've caught it.
Yeah. I guess I'm wanting to know, like, would I expect it to be able to communicate where everything else is, or what's around us? Does it have any... It's an errant thought, but does it have any knowledge of what else is around here, or is it just existing?
Interesting.
Make it talk.
I mean,
that's what I'm like. Can I?
Yes.
Would there be
Ask
any point in me trying to get it to talk?
It's a great question.
Like here's what I envision. There's got to be. It's an errant thought. Is there some way that my Ratus can absorb this thought now and find out what that thought is, what that information is? I see it as like floating information.
You know what? Yeah.
It's a great.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you absolutely can do this. If you have any boons or anything that your Ratus provides that you think would boost that, it's otherwise I think it's going to be an Aether test. But you can, like I said, you can fortify that, or not fortify. You can, use any boons or anything that might work, or of your kin abilities.
I have my battle analysis, which lets me determine a weak point on a foe. That's about the only thing I would think.
What does battle analysis? What's the wording on it? What
says? As an activation, choose an engaged or adjacent foe, then test Aether to determine a weak point. If you succeed, mark that foe.
Okay,
so
that's exactly what I was going to have you do, which is, if I'm reading this right.
So since I have that function already, I should get to roll twice. You were gonna have me do it, but I have that function. I'm really, really good at it.
So I'm going to allow you to roll with favor. But what's interesting about the foes in oh yeah, Jeremy is bringing up a point. One of the actions, and I wrote these down, but they're on my other page. It's one of the actions. It's called invoking. Here,
Invoking an element of your knight, an augment, boon, or other feature in a way not covered by the rules text, you gain favor on a single test at the seer's discretion.
Okay,
Nice.
so basically the rules support what you're trying to do, and it's called invoking.
If I make up something really cool, I get to roll extra for
yeah,
it.
you're invoking.
I think that's fair. I think
Yes.
that's
Perfect.
Have I
totally
mentioned I fucking
reasonable.
love Matt Click?
I was-
Guys, like
So-
this is
Too bad he's
the other,
not
the,
here.
the other thing that's interesting about when you're dealing with foes in Aether Nexus, they don't roll. They modify your rolls.
Mhm.
And so when you're rolling an Aether test, you're actually going to get a +1 to your Aether.
okay.
Versus this this errant thought.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, I rolled a 10, needed a 14. So
You rolled under.
Yep.
As you absorb this piece of Aether, you catch an image in your mind of a worn out Radis, worn by age, worn by the ravages of time, worn specifically by the ravages of time spent on a fragment comprised of the rusting hulks of old Radis. You see that the Radis itself is bound together by these same vines. And you see within the area that would be the head of this Radis, this Magus Radis, you see a Mycadri, one of the fungal people. As the cockpit is open in this fleeting image, you see from its own vines that are binding the Radis together, the Radis holds up its hand with a piece of scrap metal twisted around. It looks like a pipe almost, as it holds it up to the open cockpit, and you see this Mycadri in this Aetheric Night. Take a deep breath in, and you know that this errant thought belongs to none other than Calro and his Radis Doomsayer. You know that if this errant thought, if you were able to catch it, Calro is not far away.
Because Humbit is seeing this, are we all seeing this? Are we all
Yes.
feeling this? Okay, I thought so.
Yep, that you can assume that there are no secrets among you. Knowledge is shared knowledge. So as one of you makes a realization, you all have that knowledge and realization. This is very much that scene on in Avengers where they're on the bridge and the camera's panning around as the Avengers are forming, as you're all making this realization and looking around at the Hulks around you to realize this disgraced Aetheric Knight has been waiting for you, and he is somewhere nearby. I would like you to decide. We have two options. We're going to do both of them during the course of this trilogy. There's two types of initiative: dynamic and static. In dynamic initiative, we roll each round. In static initiative, you roll once and use that for the duration of the battle.
I think for ease of first session, let's do static.
Static. I would agree with Dwight.
The one thing, as we're preparing to go into this is, I've absorbed a lot of information, and I just want to make sure I do this properly as we go into this. And maybe Jeremy, who's in the chat, can help me out here. For what I'm struggling to find here is, as I'm getting ready to attack you all, I don't actually roll for attacks. I don't roll, so I'm trying to figure out how in the heck I attack you. I've lost that piece.
We roll to defend
Correct.
against attacks.
Oh, okay. So you're rolling your
Armor.
versus its attack.
Now you should have like
Or-
a damage die. You should
Yeah,
be
yeah,
able
yeah.
to
I do have that.
variant-
So
yeah. You just say I attack
So-
and then you roll that damage die, I suppose.
so Jake, you will be attacking us,
Right.
right? And we have to roll to defend. The stat block of your monster will tell you what aspect we roll to defend with. So if it's like a big monster, we'll have to defend with our
Oh,
stone.
yeah. Okay, I see.
If
I
it's
see
shooting
here.
like lasers at us, we defend with our flux, etc.
Yeah, I got
And we can
you.
also use our armor die to block damage.
I just glanced at one of the blocks where it says each engaged knight must test stone or flux. I don't.
Mhm.
Okay, I think it's because the particular thing I was looking at didn't have a lot of that. Okay. Also, I want to correct myself. Where I've been saying stray thought, it's actually a fleeting image.
Fleeting image.
A stray thought, or what I was calling an errant thought, is a different type of foe.
Oh,
This was
God.
a fleeting image. Okay,
Oh.
let's have you guys go ahead and roll initiative, and then I'll roll as well.
Is it just it says just a D20?
We test either flux or ether. If
Oh,
we succeed, we act for our foes. If we fail, we're acting after our foes.
Gotcha.
I'm going to trigger another giveaway while we're waiting.
Oh, I failed. Oh no. Okay.
So we are going to be giving away another digital copy. So follow that in the chat, and here comes the airship to remind you.
Whoop, whoop.
Hey, choo choo.
Woo.
There's the Blazing Glory or whatever the hell it was.
Okay.
Heyo.
Was it?
Blazing Fairy.
Blazing Fury. I apologize. Yes.
Okay, so now I've lost my... Here we go. Okay, so... You guys going by numbers is so helpful. So we've got... Kin, pass or fail?
Pass.
Nix?
Pass 8.
Humbit?
Pass.
Ori?
Fail.
And Rifki?
Pass.
Okay, so it looks like everybody's gonna go. Then your foe's gonna go, and then and then Ori and Big Guy are going to go. As the camera's panning around and you're looking, you see what you saw in that fleeting image. You look up, boom, anime crash zoom style, up on top of one of these piles. We see this magus, this apparatus that looks like the embodiment of a 18-foot tall wizard. And you see it breathing in those spores as the Kelro closes the cockpit. You see that he's wearing a cloak that's tattered, hanging off of the shoulders of the Radis. And as he leaps down, not all the way to your level, he leaps down to a closer level. He takes his cloak and kind of swirls it around like this, and you can see within the folds of the cloak, you see through to the Aether. And out of it swirls fleeting images, stray thoughts. And as he throws his cloak back, what looks like it might have once been a kin, cloven, or possibly even a Tuscaran. It's hard to tell. Twisted remnant of itself. A revenant steps down onto your level. We go into battle. Amongst yourselves, you will decide. I'm going to let you decide what order you want to go, other than Ori and Big Guy, who we know goes after the foes. There are 2 more fleeting images. There are a couple of stray thoughts that are swirling around. Stray thoughts are living nightmares born by currents of ether. These are probably like larger, more volatile versions of the fleeting images.
Nice.
And then the Revenant, while the Aetheric Night stands at the top, watching over everything. What would you all like to do?
Before
I
we
wanna
get
go.
into that, can
Sorry.
we get a layout of spans?
Ah, excellent. Thank you.
So,
So the Revenant currently, we're going to use the spans are essentially in the case of this, there's nothing that's very far away. The farthest thing away from you is going to be this Etheric Night, who is we're going to use distant, far, and near. He is distant from you. The Revenant is currently far, and the stray thoughts and fleeting images have moved into near. So think of it as there's 3 rings of spans.
Okay.
I would like to go. I'm ready. I think I understand how to attack. Okay, so I want to attack the Revenant.
Okay.
I think. So I can just get to him, right? Like movement isn't a super, like, can I get to him?
so you said that the Revenant was distant, right, Jake?
Far.
I was
Distant
gonna
is
say,
distant is the furthest
Yeah.
one.
Who's closest? What is closest again?
The stray thoughts and the fleeting images.
fleeting images.
Change
So
my mind. I want to attack one of the stray thoughts.
So we've got. It's in the game. It's engaged, adjacent, and distant. So
Yeah, sorry.
engaged is with us. Yep. Distant is 1 span over. I'm sorry. Adjacent is 1 span over. Distant is 2 spans over. And then an action is move. You can move 1 span. So
Right.
you could get to the distant
Mm-hmm.
Revenant, but that would be your turn.
You know what? I think I will change my mind. I want to attack one of the errant thoughts or whatever the thing was. That thing. Is that cool? Can I do that?
Okay. Do you want to go for a fleeting image or a stray thought or a stray thought?
We'll say a fleeting image. And Vi/Ori has so generously made me their melee buddy, which means I get a D10 on my armor die now. And I imagine just like as soon as enemies appear, Rifki is just like excited, and in lieu of rage existing in this game, that's essentially what's happening. And I imagine Stratus takes off like 0 to 120 just like that, just kicking up rusty dirt behind it. And can I get to it and attack? Is it close enough for that? Is it adjacent to us?
Remind me which one you were going for, the fleeting thought, fleeting image or the stray thought?
Whichever one's closer. Sorry, I know we're doing theater of the
they're
mind.
both in the same closeness.
Okay.
The fleeting image is the thing that Humbit grabbed and caught and recognized. The stray image is stray thought is the one that's a little more volatile version of that.
Okay, so I'll take the stray thought, I guess, since
Gotcha.
Humbit seems to have the other one got. And I still we are adjacent to it, so I can attack.
Yeah, you've moved adjacent to it.
Okay, perfect. So I will attack it with I have a short sword and I have an axe. I think I will attack it with my sword, my blade. So that is, I get a damage. I just say I attack it and I attack it. That's fun. My damage die is 8. Here I go.
What are you? Well, you got to attack. You've got to. Are you making a melee attack, a ranged attack?
Melee attack.
Okay, so
What
that's a stone test.
Stone. Fun.
Yes.
Great.
So melee attacks are you're testing stone. Ranged attacks
right.
are testing flux.
I see. That makes sense.
There's no modifier for you to test stone.
I failed. So I guess I don't attack.
You attack it, but you miss it.
So like weird and kind of like semi-transparent. It's like I thought I knew where it was, but I don't.
Yeah, this is where just want to make sure I'm understanding everything. I want to make sure you're doing
I mean,
you maneuvered one span
missed.
and you made an attack and you missed. You made a strike, tested your stone. Yeah, and you failed. So no hit.
It should be turn. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
I'm done.
Who's next?
Since I have this thing, I've captured this thing already. I just take out my blade and I'm gonna just like strike it with my blade.
Also, no modifier to that, but because you're already holding it, you can do so with favor.
I rolled a 1.
Dice are on fire.
Right?
So this time, yes, we absolutely want you to roll on the Triumph and Despair table.
That is also a 1.
That is going to be favor on your next test.
All right, there we go.
So go ahead and roll your damage.
Let's see here. That is an 8.
You cut across this fleeting image, and as you do so, you can feel the knowledge that is contained within this thing beginning to be lost. It's like forcing a memory to be suppressed, essentially. You haven't fully disabled it, but you've done a good amount of damage to it. Who's next?
That would be Nyx. And as battle starts to go, suddenly Nyx gets on, just drops to the ground, and all like the 8 legs just start going, and you see this rapid movement, and then all of a sudden come in, and the ball, he turns into a ball and just starts rolling towards to catch up to Radek. And you know this maneuver. You know it's the rolling thunder web maneuver that he's most famous for. As he comes in and gets right in that area, he basically jumps up and springs out and lands as a tower shield comes and lands in front of him, and his lights, more or less his spiders, suddenly come out as well to help form the shield. But what he does is, it's called a meteor strike, and suddenly these shots hit everything in front of him. And as a maneuver, I make it, it's called meteor strike. After moving, you make a stone test. If I succeed, every creature that's engaged takes 2 points of damage and pushed back to the adjacent span. So, unfortunately, that is a failure of monumental proportion.
Damn it.
Did you roll a
But it
20?
looked cool.
It looked
did.
really cool.
Did you
but
roll a 20, Jay?
No, I rolled a 19.
Okay.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Whew.
But so as I was rolling, I must have hit some of that dust, and as I came up, and they just, or the as this force comes out, they just avoided getting these 10. Now that's my movement. Do I get another so this is where, how many actions do you get? Just
You
one?
get 2
movement?
actions.
Okay.
And maneuvering is an action.
Okay, so I've maneuvered, so I moved up to close, right next to, adjacent to Radek, and then as my action.
Wasn't that your action?
No, it's just it's a boon. So after moving.
Oh, okay.
So it's just after moving. So it's a maneuver. But at this point, as an action, I'm going to do a strike to I'm going to choose one of the engaged items that's there, and I need to make an ether test for a strangly web to grab it.
Nice.
And my dice are now on fire, and it misses. Wow.
So
I thought you meant on
Wrong
fire.
game. Wrong. Yeah, suddenly the strand shoots out and it just avoids it, which he's out of practice. Or they're out of practice, excuse me.
I want to back up a second, because when you were attacking Dwight, you rolled a crit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Triumph. Which
Correct.
means you should have rolled critical damage.
Okay.
Which means you rolled a d6.
It has like a cool effect.
It's a 5.
Oh.
Which means that your target loses its weapon. Which it doesn't have a physical weapon, but I wanted to make sure. I knew we were forgetting something with that. There was you're getting too many triumphs. I can't keep track of them all.
My God, we're just doing so well.
So I believe we still have number 2 to go before these foes
Yes.
something.
I was just trying to make sure that I got this right. So Kin and Marana are gonna stay where they're at, but Marana kind of reaches back and grabs this very large longbow and pulls an etheric arrow back, and because it can hit distant foes, she's gonna try and hit that revenant.
Okay.
And that is a flux test, if I am
Yep. That is a flux test.
thinking correctly. I have a +1. I got a 1, but that makes it a 2. Because I I have a +1.
It also becomes a 4 because the Revenant adds 2 to your flux roll.
That's totally fine. It's still a success.
Excellent.
Hey.
And so my damage die is a D10. So let me pull that out. Where did all my dice go? That would be 1. I dealt 1 damage to it, but that's fine. I at least hit it.
Nice.
As this arrow, what was the name of that attack?
It was a long bow. So it was a bow arrow. It was a bow. It was a ranged weapon there.
Okay. So as this arrow, so I'm
Shooty,
sorry, I
shooty
just didn't
pew
know.
pew.
I was trying to get was it a special?
Yes. No, it was not.
Okay. So this arrow, we sort of POV follow this we follow this arrow as it flies across the field and barely striking. There's that sort of anime, it hits and kind of sing slow motion as just a piece of its shoulder disintegrates into ether. And then with equal speed, the Revenant shoots forward. It's going to make a lunge maneuver at number 2. You need to make a flux test.
Ooh. Dodge him. Dodge him.
Go, dice, go.
You can do it.
That would be a 6, so that would be a success for me.
Okay, if you had
A
failed, you would become
success.
staggered. You hold your own, bracing against this Revenant as it moves into close range. Who is nearest? Is anybody immediately next to number 2?
I don't think so.
I believe I am because they haven't acted yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it moves up close, with its maneuver, trying to knock you, to stagger you. And then in quick succession, you see as this creature, this etheric aberration, draws claws out of the aether that solidify, and it makes a cross strike at both Ori and Kin, at your radices. So you both need to make stone tests.
Easiest pass of my life. Yeah, we're shrugging that off.
That's a fairly easy pass for me too.
So there's sparks flying as these claws rip off your Radis's armor, and that makes it the stray thoughts and fleeting images. The fleeting image that you are holding, Humbit, it's struggling in your grasp, and you see it change from its panicked look as it's going to attempt to seek solace. You need to make a hearth test.
That is a fail.
So on a fail, you will take 1d4. Change the color of that die. You'll take 2 damage as in the process of seeking solace, this fleeting image ruptures and fades from existence, doing 2 damage. So that fleeting image is gone. The stray thoughts are going to head for well, one of them is pretty much up with Nyx. The other with Stratus. The stray thoughts are going to the one is going to lash out at you, Rifki and Stratus. Make a stone test.
Okay. Shit, that's a fail.
So you're going to take 2 damage. As it lashed out, and as its maneuver, because it dealt damage to you, yeah, I need you to make a stone test or a flux test.
I'll choose a flux test.
So don't forget, on these attacks, we can roll armor to reduce damage.
Oh,
Yes.
hey, Jake. Could I roll? So for that last one that did damage, I could roll an armor die. My armor die.
Yes, you could roll
Okay.
your armor die.
And is that like something that I can only do a certain number of times
Nope.
per combat, or just any time?
It's
Armor die is rolled in response to damage, reducing the amount of harm.
You just don't want to
Okay.
roll low. If you roll too
Yeah.
low, your armor die breaks down a
Yep.
size.
Yeah,
Oh,
if
can't
you-
have that. I choose that. I got a 7. So does that like negate 7 damage?
up to 7 damage, so you don't take
But-
any of that damage.
Ha! Loser.
So, yeah, there's a risk reward with your armor die. If you roll a 1 on your armor die, it downgrades.
Right. Okay. I understand.
The if you roll the max amount,
You get to parry.
you get to parry, which
Okay.
means you get to. There's another roll you get to do.
You get to make a free attack if you want.
Yeah,
attack,
sorry,
like
it's
a
kind
attack
of
of
like
opportunity
triggering
kind
an
of-
attack of opportunity, and
Which,
then
by the way, also exists in this game.
and
I
then
just
your
read.
armor die downgrade.
Amazing.
Um, and
So I'm rolling a flux
I'm going to make a
still, or no?
request. Don't stop what you're doing. I'm going to direct this to chat. Don't stop what you're doing. But I'm not reading what you're writing. But I see that some people in chat are trying to be very helpful with rules assists. People that also have Aether Nexus, have played or read the rules. What I'm going to ask is in the public one-shots chat, translate those rules or what you're typing so I can look at those, because we have another session in 2 days and I want to be a little better. I knew we were going to be super rusty. That's why I set a relatively light combat for our first battle. But I do
It's good, though.
appreciate
We're learning. We're
I
learning
appreciate that people are trying to help in chat. But if I try to read those, I will lose the thread of what's happening. Also, I'm going to make
a lot. And
this
the thread of
air
his mind.
go away, because the giveaway happened. So move out, Blaze Fury. Okay,
Congratulations, Smokebeard.
so
I'm rolling a flux, right?
yes, you are rolling. You said you were going to roll flux because you're testing against this thing's maneuver.
Right.
It's attempting to latch onto you.
Now I passed that already. I passed. Yes, I passed my
Okay.
flux. Yes, I'm sorry.
So it does not succeed in latching onto you. You can see that it's trying to connect with you. The other one that's going after oh, go ahead and make a hearth test, please.
Me?
You're making all kinds of tests against this one
All
foe.
kinds of tests.
You're
Here I
also going to
go.
have to make a hearth test, number 3. And I need you to make a stone test as it's lashing out at you.
I failed. My
You
hearth.
are shooken because as it attacks you, it has a tormenting visage that has you shook. You are shaken. You have the shaken effect. If you could
I'll look it up myself.
look that up and maybe drop it in the chat so we can
Mm-hmm.
know what it is. So what is your stone test first, Jay. Muted.
There we go. Success.
Okay, so you take no damage, but I need your hearth test, as you are also struck with the horrifying visage.
And surprisingly, I passed that one, since even though I rolled a 2 and it was my... So yeah, I did really good on that one.
This stray thought is trying to shake you with its horrifying visage.
Yeah.
But you are literally a spider mech who tends to spiders. There's no shaking you.
Yeah.
Finally,
This is nothing to me.
the disgraced Aetheric Knight takes no action. He watches from afar over everything that's happening. Finally, Ori, is you and Big Guy.
Yeah. There's this. What is the shape of this creature that like slash at us with the claws? Is
It's
it like
a stray thought. So, in my mind, this particular creature. No, sorry, not in my mind. Let me back up. I'm going to tell you, or give you the opportunity I gave Dwight. You tell us what a stray thought looks. It is an etheric aberration.
I imagine that in this moment, the stray thought is the coalescence of like our own fears or things that have like hurt us in the past. So I think this particular stray thought, it's shifting between different forms, and in this moment, when it splashed out with claws, it's shaped like a translucent, ephemeral, nightmarish Ogma, something that we had fought way back, in the day, and it's like trying to, it's embodying our fears in this moment. But here, it's like slashing out at Big Guy, and she chuckles. Wow, seems like you brought the fight to me. And she her mech like rolls its shoulders, and the fists that used to like locomote kind of unfurl into these massive scythe-like hands, massive claws and paws, and the gauntlets of them kind of spring open into like giant shields, and she's gonna just pummel this thing into oblivion on her turn. So I have Clawed Fury, which means I can make 2 per strike. So I'm gonna do that as one action. I'll make 2 attacks using stone. That's gonna be a 1 and an 8. Both of them are gonna be successes. One of them is a critical hit.
Nice, hell yeah.
So the critical hit is double damage, right? So
Well, you roll on the critical hit.
there's
You have to
a
roll a
little
1 or a
table.
2 on the d6 for it to be double damage.
I rolled a 6 for the table, which is
So does
That
somebody have
dude
that
loses
table
an
up? Because I
augment.
don't have it up.
Yep, that
Yep.
person loses an augment until respite.
Okay,
If it has an
I-
augment, it loses it.
got it.
so that's gonna be 8 damage on the first claw. That's gonna be 9 damage on the second claw. And I'm gonna. How's it looking after this 17
Very,
damage?
very, very, very badly.
Um.
Kill it.
Oh, I
Do it.
get
Kill
to
him.
I get to also do bonus damage equal to my Nexus die here because of my my bonus as a thingamajiggy. That's 4 more damage.
Wow.
What does it look like when you destroy a stray thought?
Yeah, Vi. Let's go.
Yeah, as I had said, like her claws unfurl, and she just like the servos go, and I think just it gets absolutely obliterated. It's made of ether and it's kind of this translucent ephemeral material, and it gets just cut to ribbons and dissipated as like just like the glittery dust of what's left of the stray thought remains.
Make
That
an
was her
ether
one
test.
action. Oh, an ether test, you say?
Yep.
Okay, that's gonna be a failure. I got over my ether.
As you rip this stray thought to shreds, there's a familiarity. As soon as you rip it to shreds, it hits you, and then it hits everybody in the Nexus. But you absorb it. Your next test will be done with a hindrance because of this.
Okay.
All of you
Is there
as this stray thought hits or is destroyed, it's an echo of that final moment of number 1. You said that was one action.
Sky. There's like a.
That was my
drone
one
shot.
action. Yes.
The whole Nexus like jitters, like all 5 of us at the same time.
And is there anyone else in my particular range band still?
Well, let's see. The other 2 moved out of that. The Revenant. Sorry, were you attacking the stray thought or the Revenant?
The one that like slashed at me with the claws.
All right. Yeah. So
we can retcon that.
Everything stands.
Say that I killed the stray thought.
You killed the stray thought that was shielding the Revenant, so you can attack the
go.
Revenant now.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna do a little bit of a Nexus die boost here to do the same action twice in a row here. If it's in melee, I'm gonna keep slashing at it. And my Nexus die is fine doing so no worries on that one. That's gonna be 2 more attacks against this guy.
Are these stone or these are stone tests?
Yeah, stone melee attacks, just ripping at him with.
They'll
these
be at +1.
claws. Okay, so it's gonna be still 2 successes. I rolled considerably under my stone, so that's gonna be another 9 + 6, 15 damage. I can't do a Nexus die boost here because I already did that on the last guy. So that's 15 damage.
You rip into this Revenant and you dissipate some of its energy, but it shows no signs of slowing down. We're back to the beginning. We're going to move quickly through one more very quick round as we will move in towards wrapping this session up. So same thing, everybody but Ori and Big Guy, you can move in whatever.
Can you real quick run through where everybody is right now? So
we've got number 2 and number 5 are engaged with the Revenant at that engaged range.
Yep.
I'm engaged with the stray thought.
Stray thought. Stratus and Stray Thought's a great name for a Ratus too. Stratus and Rifki and Nyx and Hivekeeper are in that next range band, the adjacent range band, but they are both engaged with a Stray Thought. And at distant, up high on one of the piles is the disgraced Aetheric Night and their Ratus.
I want to attack. I want to go. I'm going to go again. I will. Okay.
Carrie, your audio is disintegrating.
Oh, hold on.
So while so Ori and Quinn are engaged with
The Revenant.
The Revenant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to so number 4 just blinks out. I'm going to use Aether Step, which allows me to move to an adjacent span, ignoring opportunity strikes. And then I get to roll my next attack with favor. I do have to roll my Nexus die though.
You were already rolling at favor?
Yep. So my Nexus die. I'm under there. I want to be under on Nexus die still too, right?
I believe
Right,
so.
okay.
Yes.
And then for my attack with favor, I'm going to just stab at the. I want to blink back in, behind the Revenant, and then I'm going to attack it with my blade.
Okay, this will be a +1 to your attack.
+1, and that's going to be stone, right?
Yes. Stone test.
That is 7. That is a success.
Okay.
Hey.
And then, and actually I get to have that. Someone just make sure we do not. Okay, so then that is another 8 points of damage.
As you come in with this, essentially this sneak attack maneuver, you can see for the first time a reaction on the Revenant, that you've caught it off guard and you've done, you've pushed it past the point of ignoring the damage to, it's very aware of you. Who's next?
Carrie.
Yeah, I can go. Okay, hold on one second. So, I am looking up maneuvers. I want to do a maneuver. I just haven't decided which one I want to do yet. Can you hear me now? Am I better?
Yes.
Okay, sick. Hold on. Actually, somebody else go. I'm choosing. I'm sorry.
I'll go.
Yep.
So my first action will be to interact to equip her Marana's sickles. And she is going to attack with her sickles. So I have to roll stone for those because they're like axes. Ooh, and I failed.
Did you just miss? Not a critical.
No, it was with the +2 is technically 17, and I need to get 13 or lower.
Okay, yeah. So you try attacking this thing and just miss. That was your interact and your strike.
Yep.
Okay. Are you ready, Rifki?
Yeah, sure. So I guess, let's see. I think what I would like to do, so this thing and I are still like engaged, right?
Yes.
I would like to just I think I want to activate my no, I don't. I just want to attack him. Just want to attack him. That's what I've decided. I'm going to attack him twice. So I am rolling with hindrance because I have to. Meh. So here I go. Oh, I actually passed on with rolling with hindrance to attack
Nice.
him. Shit, I wish I would have done what I wanted to do first. Okay. So that means that I get to roll my damage die now, right?
Yeah.
Sick. Okay. And I'm going to attack with my sword, which allows me only if I deal critical damage. Oh my god. Well, I rolled an 8 on my d8. Does that mean anything fun? Or no?
For damage, I think you just did
Yeah.
max damage.
I just did max damage. Yay me. So I did that.
But it's a knife. A knife. Nope. It's enough.
It is also a knife, ironically enough.
It's a
And
knife.
So
But you have to destroy it.
it's a knife.
What does it look like?
Oh my god. Sick. So I imagine like at first Rifki's having kind of a hard time, like missing. And again, the rage that doesn't exist in this system takes over. And you all in your heads would hear Rifki just scream, this guttural, angry scream. And you just see her like rear back, and you see Stratus like lurch back probably 25, 20, like 30 feet, which is like the move, and then jet forward with like this. It almost looks like Stratus goes from here to here, and there's nothing in between. And when Stratus emerges on the other side of this, you see this thing just like shish kebabbed on this blade.
Very quickly, we'll shift to number 3. Stratus and Rifki have taken care of the last stray thought in your range span. The only enemy in immediate or nearby is the Revenant, and of course the Knight and his Radis up at distant.
So the Revenant, that's in the adjacent. So I believe I'm gonna have to use an interaction, or to take out the tower shield to make sure that I have that. Since I was rolling, like, okay, there's my interaction. As a strike, I'm gonna do my web strike and basically shoot out this web to grab that Revenant and just kind of root him to where he's at. And on my D20, I succeeded on my flux, or excuse me, on my strike attack. Oh no, ethers. That's right. I had to roll an ether. Ether test was successful, so he takes 1d4 points of damage, which is I gotta get my d4. Sorry,
Nice.
I've been rolling this together. It is 3 points of damage, and he is rooted. And I will put that in the chat. Basically, he cannot move for the remainder of until the next round, and can't take maneuvers.
So
he suddenly, the string of web just comes out and just slams him to the ground and his feet, and he just takes 3 points of damage and is just stuck there with webs.
I just see as he's attempting to turn and attack at both number 2 and number 5 again, each of these claws just leaving him unable to directly attack at you, number 5. So I'm going to have you go for your final attack, and then I'm going to go.
Oh.
For my final
Yeah,
attack?
you're going to take your turn, Vi, and then I'm going to take
Do
the
it.
last action.
So yeah, so the Revenant is rooted in front of me. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. Keep slashing.
Yeah, you're
with
gonna roll.
these
You're
massive
gonna roll
claws.
with favor.
With favor. Oh, that makes it even better. Okay. That's gonna be a success and a success. So 2 successful hits. That's going to be 7 on the first, 2 plus 3 on the second. So that's 7 and 5.
What does it look
12
like?
damage.
What does it look like when you destroy this webbed Revenant?
We are such a good team.
I imagine like these claws that that big guy has, like they're just honestly they're as big as some of these apparatuses are. They take up so much of her form. I think just like Ori and big guy will lumber over and just like smash, like, and just obliterate the Revenant between the claws, and we'll peel away like just like whatever is left. I kind of. She's like, Pulls it off. Looking up at the next foe.
As you do that, the Revenant, or the Aetheric Knight, the disgraced Aetheric Knight, Kelro, and his Radis Doomweaver, or was it Doomweaver or Doomspeaker? You see as there's another sort of flare of this cape that seemed to have also been in some sort of etheric gate. There's a flare and a flash, very anime. Suddenly, shoom, it goes aloft. And then drops to the ground. Not even in like a 3-point hero stance. Just hits the ground and looks up. And that's when you all realize it was a distraction. Behind it on the pile, standing above it, shielded from view by the flowing cape of Doomspeaker, is none other than Aegis, the Bastion. For its first ranged strike, it's going to attack number 2 and number 5. as you watch. Actually, I take that back. It's going to attack. It's going to attack number 3 and number 6 with anchor harpoons. I need both of you to make flux tests at +2.
So my roll is +2, or
Yes.
the standard is +2.
No, you're gonna roll and
Okay.
you add 2 because this foe adds 2 to your flux roll.
God. Oh, I still passed.
Okay.
Ugh.
How about you, number 3? Fail.
That's a fail. Yep, just
So-
failed it. Just failed it.
Rifki, seeing what happens to Nyx, Nyx, this out of nowhere, this harpoon, well, not out of nowhere, you see it actually with that sort of like that trail, just sort of as this harpoon slams through your radius, anchoring you to the ground. You're gonna become rooted, and you're also gonna take 4 points of damage, unless you want to try to mitigate that with armor.
I will, because I do have my shield, and I get
Okay.
+3 on that thing.
Nice.
And I rolled max damage for 9 armor. So my armor die was 9. So if I recall, because I rolled max on my armor, I have to downgrade it, and something
You
else
get a
happens.
free ranged or melee attack to take immediately. If you have a ranged attack you want to make against either of these radices,
I parry it, so I can't. Okay, actually,
Shoota!
but my ranged weapon isn't out yet.
Oh.
So it means you probably can't then, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but I do have, I can make, what's the word I'm looking for? I can make a regular strike, so I can make a strike. All right, I will do. I'm rooted. Shoot, I can't
Yeah,
move.
you would have to be able to make a ranged attack because both of them are at a range. You're
Are
rooted.
one of them in adjacent, not engaged, but adjacent?
Yeah, the Disgraced Knight. Doom
Okay, so
Speaker's
then
adjacent.
I'll hit the Disgraced Knight with a web,
Okay.
Oh, nice.
because I can hit engaged or adjacent foes.
Okay, make that test.
that.
Aether test.
Yep. So my Aether test is a fail though. So
Damn it.
And then so Rifki and Stratus, how do you dodge that the second harpoon that's coming for you?
I imagine the one that hit Nyx was like a half a second before the one that's coming for Rifki, and the again with the shared like the hive mind, Rifki like has those reflexes anyway, but also with the added advantage of seeing through Nyx's eyes essentially what happened to them. Rifki just kind of like it does like a freaking Daniel-san and just goes poing, and it just like goes ricocheting off to the side.
Nice.
And if I can I probably can't do anything mechanically now, but seeing Nyx in danger and kind of remembering the whole incident where Nyx had helped Stratus or helped Rifki way back in the day, can I make my way over to try to free them?
You can start to make that. You can't really do anything mechanically, but yeah,
like
you
I
can
said,
make
yeah.
the preparation. But at the same time, these were launching. So I believe the last action Humbit that you took was that you came in and backstabbed the Revenant. So you, Ori, and Kin are all in that same band. We see from your vantage point, we see after these harpoon attacks happen, we see the distant bastion frame of Aegis, and you see from its back, you see the Aether cannon go zzz, poof, and you just see the Aether energy going, and it's going to hit in the span where the three of you are. All three of you need to make a flux test at +2, and then immediately roll. Well, actually, make your flux test.
It's a pass.
No. Which 3 was that? I'm sorry.
It's a pass.
It was 5,
With the-
2, and 4.
With the +2, I'm not gonna pass. I
Okay,
feel,
so
with
you
the-
need to.
because of the
You're,
+2.
you're gonna
You can use
take.
a terrain pop. Fuck.
Oh,
Oh,
roll over.
Oh.
You're gonna take 6 points of rupture damage,
I can't block that at all.
and you need to roll your Nexus die.
oh, come on. Don't worry.
My Nexus dice goes down a size, D4.
As
I rolled a 1.
Oh no.
Bastion,
Short circuiting.
with that attack, as the other two of you, Kin and Humbit, you are able to shield yourself or move out of the way in such that, unfortunately, Ori and Big Guy take the full effect of this Aether Cannon. As the dust settles, there's no sign of Aegis. And though you missed in your web attack, Nyx,
Mm-hmm.
you see on the battlefield across from you, you see the disgraced Aetheric Knight Kelro open up the cockpit, move that piece of his radius in front of his face as another burst of spores, and as he breathes it in, and he begins to walk towards all of you with his cockpit open,
Oh my god.
which is a phrase I immediately regret saying.
I was gonna say.
And with that unfortunate phrasing, that is where we're going to end part 1 of this trilogy.
Jesus. Wow.
Phoebus.
So I do want to say, partial apologies. We're all learning together, but man, did a lot of knowledge leave my head when we started this
Bro, no.
encounter.
You did
However-
fine. You did fine.
However,
Yeah.
I felt like by the end of it, we were all kind of hitting our stride and kind of. It's such a quick system. I mean, that's a testament to how quick it is to pick up on.
I felt the opposite because I had read a bunch and I did not feel like it was taking hold until we started playing, and I was like, oh yeah, it's
Oh.
Mecha Hack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
Turned
was
up
me
to
too.
11.
This
So-
is where I relied on you guys a lot too, where you
Yeah.
have this sort of ingrained knowledge. And Dwight, I know you've run a lot of Mecha Hack,
Mhm.
and this is
Yeah.
built on the Mecha Hack, so you have a lot of that sort of muscle memory of how the system works. And I
I'm
appreciate.
so glad we're playing again soon.
we better on Sunday.
So we can like
Yes.
yeah.
So, if you're watching with us live, you can tune in at 4 p.m. Eastern in 2 days on Sunday the 24th for part 2, and part 3 will be in 1 week from Sunday, also at 4 p.m. Eastern. We will be giving away more copies of Aether Nexus. Congrats to Doug in Texas, and I believe Smokebeard was the other winner.
Yes.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
So congrats to both of you. I did get your emails, and I'll be in touch soon with your codes, so you can download your own copies. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. If you are watching with us later on a VOD on YouTube, check the information bar down below. I will have a direct link to where you can purchase Aether Nexus on DriveThruRPG. And I'd encourage you to also check out the rest of Absolute Tabletop stuff while you're there. For a lot of us, AbTab is one of our favorite, as Dwight said at the beginning, one of, if not our favorite, third-party publisher or first-party publisher in the case of these new systems. Not only that, they're great friends, and it's an honor to be able to run an officially sponsored stream for them. I hope you guys the audience has enjoyed our presentation, and hopefully you, the players, have enjoyed the game. Been interesting seeing how everybody comes together with this story, built upon, for those of you that didn't have insight into this, during our session 0, we formed the Nexus and the idea of the Six and everything. And that's where the story was born from. A trauma bond banner, a trauma bond Nexus. That, of course, I'm going to use that trauma bond against you for the story. So with that, say a huge thank you to everybody who tuned in. If you're watching, lurking silently, or watching on VOD, thank you as well, and we hope you enjoy our presentation. And of course, I want to say a special thank you to Matt, Barker, and Tim of Absolute Tabletop, who created Aether Nexus and all these other wonderful supplements. Thank you so much for sharing your creativity with us and letting us, through you, share to others. And finally, a huge thank you to these amazing players who I am honored to be able to call my friends. I love playing games with you, and I love learning new games with you. So a huge thank you to Sarah, Jay, Gary, Vi, White, without whom this would have been me talking to myself for a couple hours. With that, we're going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream. You can say it with me if you want.
If I were Jeremy, I'd make an inappropriate joke.